Oh, wonders of the world, so many wonders to behold, so many questions in my mind, so many questions, so little time. Answers don't so easily come unless you know to ask someone who is a master of the trade. Ask them how clouds get their shape. Welcome to What the Heck Is That with David Ventura. Hi everyone, and welcome back to What the Heck Is That. We have an exciting and talented guest for you this week. Sarah is a multi-talented actress and musician, and she is already so accomplished in her experience. She has performed all over the world, and I can't wait for you all to hear her story.
Wow, thank you, David. That's such a great intro. Thank you. Yes, hello everyone. My name is Sarah Lonsert, and I am just so honored and so excited to be here with David on his show. What the heck is that? So yes, I cannot wait. I've been looking forward to this all week. So hi, David.
Sarah, can you start by telling us a bit about your music education?
Yeah, my music education. So my music education is a bit wonky because I actually started studying music when I was in college, junior college, and it kind of happened by accident. I was a really big musical theater person all throughout my preteens and my teenagehood and my young adult life. And when it came time for me to go to junior college, I was signing up for a music 101 class, thinking that it was a music theater class. So, it would teach me more about the theater and how to sing in the musical theater style. And I walked into the classroom and there's a whole bunch of blackboards with music lines on it, and I'm just like, I don't this doesn't look like a musical theater classroom. And the professor walked in, he looked very serious, had like glasses, very classical musician look. And he was like, "All right, class, we're going to start learning how to read music." And I was like, "Wait, you can read this stuff?" Oh, because like my entire time going through musical theater, I couldn't read music. I would learn music through recordings or just follow along with the lyrics, but I never really learned how to read music or what any of the extra dots on the page meant. And so from that moment when he started teaching me how to read music, I was hooked, and I had to stay in music 101. And then it just kind of came into a, oh wait, this is a classical music genre. So I was like, well, they're teaching me a lot about music that I have never knew before. So I want to continue this because I'm learning so much. And so my music education came from a complete accident in junior college. Otherwise, I would have just continued doing musical theater classes with acting, singing, and dancing, instead of actually learning how to read music. So it was a complete accident, thinking that Music 101 was a music theater course, and it wasn't. So yeah, that's kind of how my music education started. And it kind of, ever since that mistake happened, I have now gone on, and I am currently in the process of getting my master's in vocal performance. So one tiny mistake can lead to an entire school career, as it were.
That is too funny. Maybe you can help me study for my music therapy class.
Yeah, I actually do I do tutor music therapy, music therapy. I do tutor music theory. There we go. Those are the words. Um but which is kind of funny because I had to retake music theory going into my master's program, because it's just if it's something that you're not like living in constantly and using, it's kind of like a language, a foreign language. You just kind of lose it, even though you're aware of what's going on. You're not really aware of like how to build an augmented six chord and how to properly resolve it. And I'm like, I don't know anything like I know about it. It's just it's not something at the forefront of my mind. But I now that I've taken the course again, and I now have been reintroduced to all the concepts I've learned. I do tutor music theory. So if you are learning, David, I'd be more than happy to help you.
Tell me about the first song you ever wrote and where you got the inspiration for it.
Oh, okay. The first song I ever wrote. Okay. All right. Well, I guess we should start at the very beginning. A very good place to start. Um, so when I was younger, I used to write down a whole bunch of poems because I wasn't really good with my words, and I'm still not really good with my words now. But I thought that if I wrote them in poems, that I would be able to express myself better if I actually had time to write them down and actually say what I meant to say. And my mom, we found out that I had an affinity for music theater. So she enrolled me in a summer camp with Miss Debbie Gibson called Camp Electric Youth, and it was a very intense summer camp for about a month, and we learned how to dance, how to act, how to do musical theater dancing, musical theater acting, film acting, and songwriting. And the songwriting portion was with Miss Debbie herself. And so we got to go into her office and bring in whatever we wanted, and she would help us make songs out of them. And so I brought in like my whole stack of poems, and I'm just like gave them to her, and I'm like, I don't know how to write the song. Help. I'm like 12. And she opened the file and she picked my very first poem, which was called Mark Set Go, which was a poem about me understanding that I wanted a career in music, and I understood how tough it was. And so the whole poem was about me starting the race and never giving up the race on becoming a musician and becoming a working musician, and never giving up on my dream. So so yeah, it's like on your mark, set, go. Don't think I can make it. Like it's very catchy and cheesy. But it was a song all about not giving up on my dreams. And she saw the poem and she was like, "Oh my gosh, this is 100% you. We need to write this right now." And so she would just play chords on the piano, and I would just come up with a melody. And with that process, we took my poem and just compiled it into my very first song called Mark Set Go, which is very 80s sort of vibe of getting ready to run a race and not give up until I cross the finish line. So that's my very first song, Mark Set Go, written when I was about 13, I think. Yeah, 13.
I would love to hear it sometime. I like that you write from your poem. I am going to try that out sometimes.
Yeah, I have found I actually have a journal. Yeah, I have a journal right above me where I just write whatever I feel like, even if it's like just gibberish, maybe it's little haikus or just whatever, or I draw in my journal sometime. I 100% am a huge proprietor of journaling. So because journaling, you look back and you're like, oh my gosh, that was a great idea, and I just totally forgot about it. So if you wanna journal and just write poems, I think it's a great way to express yourself and just get all of your thoughts and feelings on the page that you weren't able to express during the day. So journal away.
What do you know that you were a musician?
When did I know I was a musician? So yeah, so I personally knew I was a musician when I was a very young child because I come from a long family of sports people, athletes. That's what they're called. They're called athletes. They're not called sports people. They're called athletes. Um, but yeah, I come from a very long line of athletes. In fact, my mother almost went to the Olympics for diving. So very accomplished athletes in my family, and both my brothers were really talented in football or soccer. And So I tried my hand at football and I was really horrible at it. But I just wanted to make my family happy because we were all athletes. But I knew I was a musician when I was like 3 years old, when I was first starting to learn how to talk, because I felt more comfortable singing to people, because I realized that people, when they listen to songs, they the song seemed to speak to them in a way that words just couldn't speak to people. And I realized that as a young age. So I was like, well, if I sing to people, maybe that'll help get my answers across better. And of course that failed, because people get annoyed when you're just singing to them constantly. But but yeah, that's kind of when I knew I was a musician. Was music just came very, very naturally to me. It was something that I had been trying to utilize since I was, 3 years old, and I was trying to learn how to speak and communicate. And I realized that music was the best way to communicate. And so in my heart, I always knew I was a musician, even though when I was a kid, I was trying my hardest to make my family proud of me by being a good athlete, even though I just was not cut up to be an athlete. I was actually pretty good at swimming, and my mom really wanted me to continue with swimming, but I just didn't like the fact that they kept yelling at me. So I was like, I don't want to swim anymore. They're mean. So we gave up on that.
I can really relate to some of that because I have been singing my whole life too. I am so glad your mom decided to get into that little group.
So of course there's a difference between knowing in your heart when you're a musician and actually pursuing being a musician with your life. Um, so that decision to pursue music full time and do become a musician, become a singer and a vocalist. So I should clarify, because being a musician is a very broad term. Being a singer and a vocalist and an actor, I I remember very, very vividly. I was like around like 11, 12 years old, and I found this DVD in my mom's room, and it was the DVD version of Phantom of the Opera, the Andrew Lloyd Webber. I think it was the Joel Schumacher. I don't remember, but it had Gerald Butler as the Phantom. And I remember I was really bored, and I just put it on in my house, and I had never seen something so amazing, so magical, so absolutely incredible. My young mind couldn't handle all of the amazingness that was going on the screen. And I remember the DVD ended, I ran up to my mom and I said, "Mom, I know what I want to do. I'm going to be a singer. And that's what I'm going to do with my life. Like, I have to sing. This is what I want to do. I need to be a singer." I said, "I need to be whatever the heck just happened on my TV. That's what I need to do." And I think my poor mom, like a little 11-year-old, to come up to her and tell her, like, "Hey, I'm going to be a singer for the rest of my life." And she's just like, "Oh no, my poor daughter is going to be poor and not have a life." And like, all of the big dreams and aspirations she had for me just went out the window. But she immediately was like, "If that's what you really want to do, we're gonna do this right." And she got me into voice lessons immediately, and we started pursuing theater. And ever since I was 11 years old, watching that really interesting movie, A Phantom of the Opera, I always had the dream of being Christine in Phantom of the Opera on Broadway, and that dream hasn't left me. But yeah, I was 11 when I finally was like I always knew in my heart that I was a musician, but it was like around 11 that I was like, this is what I'm doing with my life. I know what I want to do. So, and it's really all thanks to that movie. Like, honestly, I'd probably be in a pool already if it wasn't for that movie. So,
Sarah, you have to tell everyone about quarantine karaoke.
oh, quarantine quarantine karaoke. Um Yeah, okay. So funny thing is quarantine karaoke really was a child of the pandemic because before the pandemic hit, I was going to grad school. I was living out of my parents' house. Going to grad school. I was in full time at Pacific Chorale and the LA Master Chorale, and I was doing a whole bunch of gigs everywhere. So I was really busy. I was like so excited. I felt like, I was making a whole living being a musician, which to me just boggled my mind. And of course, this is just starting to get happening, and I'm finally like on my own going and getting my master's, and then all of a sudden the pandemic hits, and I just saw everything in my life that I had worked at and I had accomplished on my own just crumble away and just disappeared. And sorry, I'm getting emotional talking about it. Um, so I went into like this really deep depression because all of a sudden, you're back at your parents' house and you have nothing, and everything that you worked really hard for is just gone, and you have no way of making money, nothing, and you can't even see your friends. And so I fell into this really deep depression, and my mom and my sister-in-law, they both looked at me and they're like, Sarah has just, the light is gone. Like, she is so not there anymore. And they got really concerned. And they remembered that I used to stream like just every once in a while just for fun. And so they were like, well, why don't you stream singing? And I said, that's a stupid idea. I hate this idea. I'll never do it. This is horrible. And we kind of we kind of worked together, much to my chagrin, over like the first couple of weeks, about doing a karaoke show, about doing each day would be a different genre, and that way I could sing whatever I wanted. I could take requests and sing things that people wanted. And at first I thought this was a horrible idea and that no one would watch me. That, I wasn't a big time streamer. No one would care to watch me for an hour. And at first I was right. I only got like one or two viewers, but it was more it brought joy back to me because I found out that, oh my gosh, I'm singing, I'm performing again. And it really brought the light back into my eyes and into my world when everything was just dark because of the pandemic. And it really brought joy back to me, and I really enjoyed and loved doing quarantine karaoke after like the second week of doing it. And then I found out because people started messaging me, and I was like, "Oh my gosh, quarantine karaoke isn't just helping me. Like, a lot of people are messaging me telling me how much this is making them happy for an hour, or if this is something that they look forward to and they can sing along with and just have a good time for an hour." And so at first, quarantine karaoke was started out as a very selfish thing to help me out of my depression. And then it became a, no, this is about all of us, and this is about bringing joy to people who, can't go see performing artists anymore because we're all locked away. And so it became a much bigger thing. And now I continue quarantine karaoke, um mostly because I love it. I think it's there are weeks where I take a week off and I actually miss quarantine karaoke. um so I do it because I love it, but I also do it because the community has told me how much it means to them. And so yeah, it has grown into something that I would have never even imagined it growing into. And it's kind of cool how it started off from a very, you just need to get out of your depression, to, my gosh, we're doing this for fun with a whole bunch of people. And this is something that it could be meaningful to a lot of people other than just me. So yeah, quick promo: if you want to catch quarantine karaoke, it is on my Twitch channel, which is twitch.tv/Sarah with an H underscore Lonsert. And I stream Monday through Wednesday. musical theater on Mondays, pop songs on Tuesdays, and Walt Disney songs on Wednesdays. And currently, the schedule is from 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time to 8 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, but I am planning on moving that back to 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time once school is out.
Well, I have to say, Sarah, that I love watching in at it is really fun for everyone who loves music.
Well, thank you, David. It honestly, if I may speak candidly, it really does make my evenings every single time I see you in the chat because I know like we've had many discussions on Zoom and it's been really great to get to know you and it's just so like those smiles you see on stream whenever I see you chat, they're genuine. They are just, oh my gosh, yes, David is here. We can have a great stream. So thank you for giving that to me, David. That really does mean a lot.
Thank you, Sarah. I know you have worked on so many projects all over the world. Which have been some of your favorite things you have performed in?
Yeah, so it's kind of crazy when I think back on all the places that I have been to. And this has all come from being a classical musician because as I said earlier, I was a musical theater singer and I accidentally got onto the classical singer route. And so when I was in my undergrad going for my bachelor's in vocal performance, I really felt like I was the musical theater singer disguising herself as a classical singer. And over the years and all the practice and everything else, I have finally kicked that imposter syndrome, especially after going to so many places and performing and getting the amazing opportunity to sing solos in some of these concerts. But there are some of the places that I have been and I have performed in. I've been to Paris. I have been to Italy, specifically Rome. I've been to Estonia, Finland, Sweden, and Russia. Um, so that the Russia thing was really cool. We got to perform in their big music hall in St. Petersburg, and it was just it was so cool. Um, but I think my favorite performance overseas that I've ever done, which is kind of silly, but it goes back to when I was still struggling with my imposter syndrome of being a musical theater singer trying to disguise herself as a classical singer. I got into a summer program to go to Rome, and we were supposed to bring 5 Italian arias, and arias just means solo songs in an opera. So when I say an aria, it's just a solo number. So I had to bring 5 Italian ones to hardcore study in Rome. And at the end of every week, we would sing an aria for the actual like Italian public. They would come in, and so I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, I'm an American. I speak very little Italian because I was also studying the Italian language at the time, and I'm just thinking like, I hope my Italian is good enough that the actual Italians think that I'm doing justice to their beautiful language. And I remember freaking out the very first performance that we had. I remember being so terrified, and I still have the recording of my very first performance in Rome. It's on my YouTube. Um, but I remember it was being such a rush, and that was the moment that I kind of got rid of my imposter syndrome, and I was like, yes, I can be a musical theater singer and a classical singer. I don't have to feel like I'm disguising myself. And it was such a rush and it was so amazing. And I had a lot of Italians actually come up to me and just compliment me on my performance. And it was so incredible. It was such a great experience. Oh, another place that I forgot. I've actually also performed in Germany. I totally forgot about that. But yeah, I think that's one of my best experiences overseas. Was just my very first time singing in a foreign country. gosh, I have so many amazing stories. Oh my gosh, the whole entire Baltics trip was incredible. Singing in Germany was incredible. Yeah, but for the sake of brevity, that is like one of my favorite moments of singing overseas. Was my very first concert in Rome.
You are such an inspiration. I can't believe you have been to all those places. So now that I know you, I bet you actually learn all the meaning those Italian words before you sing them.
Yeah, that's actually it's actually one of the a really important thing about being a classical musician because everything is in a different language. At least the vast majority of the time. There are some operas and some art songs that you will sing that are in English, which just take care of a huge amount of work. But yeah, we actually do before we even sing anything of an aria that's in another language, we actually sit down with the text that's in a foreign language and we word for word translate what they are and how to say them. So we know like what we're saying, what we're singing about, and we have to memorize the text before we even tackle the music because the text is important. The text is what informed the composer. So if you don't know what you're singing, you don't really know what the music is about. So it's really important for a classical singer to really understand what they're saying. Um, and it is kind of weird because I'm so just into foreign texts all the time. Sometimes I will be like playing a video game and like just a French phrase will come across the screen just to be cute and I'll be like, "Oh yeah, of course." And I'll just forget that I just read French and I understood it. So it kind of is really fun. I feel like if I actually really wanted to take a deeper dive into any of these foreign languages, I think studying arias has definitely helped. But yeah, it's really important to know what you're singing.
What was it like trying out from the show?
Okay, so I have tried out for many different shows, from America's Got Talent to The Voice, and The Voice we talked about when we first met. Um, so the thing is with trying out for any TV show, it's really important for any auditioner to understand that they are casting a show. They are casting a TV show. And that means that they are looking for certain characters. So it could be that they need so and so many blondes and now they need brunettes, or they have a lot of higher voices and so they want more lower voices, or um a good example is that a good talent show like you'll see all the time on America's Got Talent and The Voice that they'll interview the people and they always have like this story. They always have something that makes them unique. So it could be that for me, because I'm autistic, it could be that they already have an autistic person on the show, and so they don't need another one. So that immediately will disqualify me. So it's just important to keep those casting things in mind, like things that you can't control. So with that in mind, auditioning for The Voice is always really fun because I get to sing songs that um, are meaningful to me. I think this last time I sang Memory from Cats, mostly because my grandma wanted me to. And at the time, my grandmother was about to go into surgery, and we weren't really sure if she was going to make it out. So it was really important for me to sing this for her. She's fine, by the way. But so when I was auditioning for The Voice, it was really, really emotional and really fun. And I always take it as a great learning experience. Like, how could I have done better? What maybe that wasn't the best song choice, or maybe I should have done my hair differently. Like, I always look back at my auditions if I can, and I treat them as a learning experience. So even though I didn't get on The Voice, which could have been because of the number of factors I just listed that aren't under my control, I always look at it as a learning experience and always like, how can I get better? how could I have made this audition just a little bit better? So it's always really awesome to just keep constantly auditioning to try and make yourself a little bit better, a little like how can I get a little bit better for next time? So it's always a great learning experience. But the couple times that I have actually auditioned for them in person, those are long days, man. Long days. You bring a book or something. You're gonna be sitting in line for a while. Unless of course you have an appointment, which I can never get because I don't have an agent. But yeah, you're gonna be there for a while. And you might actually meet a friend in line because you're just constantly with each other. But yeah, bring a book. Um, it's gonna be a long day. Um, but as long as you go into it with the idea of bettering yourself and thinking about it as a good experience, then I think it's 100% worth your time if you believe that you can get on the show, if you believe you have the talent to do so. Because even though I haven't gotten on any of these shows, I don't doubt the fact that I can sing. I think of it as, there are a whole bunch of other factors that I can't control with casting. But yeah, so think of them as good experiences and always a way to get better at what you do. But yeah, they are super super fun.
That is crazy. I had no idea that all of that went into those shows. I am proud of you for doing that though.
Thank you, David. I appreciate that. Yeah, it's it can get disheartening. I'm not gonna lie. It absolutely can get disheartening, but um because you're not going to get in on your first try. And if you do, amazing, that's great, you could possibly do that, but it'll probably take a couple of auditions, in fact, hey, even a few. And it can be disheartening, but as long as you always remember that you believe in yourself, and that you believe that you have the talent to get on these shows, and you just persevere and you always think of them as good learning experiences, then that kind of does help with the fact of like you're going to get rejected. But of course, you know, I hope that you have somebody like in your life being like, hey, maybe you're not a good singer. Maybe you should audition for The Voice. Because there are one of the reasons that make those lines so long is that there are people there that really shouldn't be there. But you know what? Props to them for like following through on their dreams. I'm not going to be the one to judge that. Like the fact that they're there and they're just willing to show their heart and soul is just like, you might not be the best singer I've ever heard, but by goodness, you're here, and that's kind of cool. Like, good on you.
Where do you see music taking you in the future?
Um Honestly, I would personally love to in the future, as I said, I would personally love to see myself on Broadway being Christine in Phantom of the Opera. I think that would be just an absolute dream. In fact, I know it would be a dream come true for me to be able to be on Broadway. Um, but honestly, I kind of try to keep an open mind because, as I mentioned earlier, this whole classical thing was a complete and utter mistake. I really wasn't supposed to be taking a music 101 class. I thought I was taking a musical theater class. So yeah, I try to keep an open mind, because if it hadn't been for that mistake, I would have never gotten into Pacific Chorale or LA Master Chorale or have met any of the amazing teachers that I have. And so I try to keep an open mind, even though I have this dream of being on Broadway and being Christine in Phantom of the Opera. I also know that like if an opportunity comes up and I get cast in an opera, or I get cast as whatever, like Susie Q down the street singing in restaurants, like you never know where music's going to take you. So I try to keep an open mind about it and never shut any doors. But I can say that my dream would be Broadway eventually. That would be my dream, but I'm not one to choose the path on how to get there. Kind of let music guide me and do figure out what doors it wants to open for me.
I have not been to New York, but I will have to come see you at the Broadway.
You've never. Okay. If I get on a Broadway show, David, you need to call me and let me know that you're coming, because I will. Heck, I'll pay for your ticket. I'll pay for you to be there. But yeah, no. If I ever get on a Broadway show, call me and I'll be like, hey, I can't get free tickets, but I'll pay for your tickets. Like, you just need to be there. So yeah, that way we can have some fun in New York. Woo!
How cool is that? That was a great start to our interview, but you all will need to come back next weekend if you want to see the rest. See you all then, and thank you all for watching. What the heck is that? Wonders, oh wonders of the world. So many wonders to behold. So many questions in my mind. So many questions, so little time. Answers don't so easily come unless you know to ask someone who is a master of the trade. Ask them how clouds get their shape. Welcome to What the Heck is That with David Ventura.